I'm wetting the paper with my large flat brush. I've actually sketched in the landscape scene, and outline sketches are available to download from my Patreon membership. Details about that can be found in the description below. So I've mixed up some colours here. I'm using my size 10 brush, painting wet in wet. I've got some Hansa yellow light, but you could use lemon yellow, and I'm also using Naples yellow. I don't use that often, but I'm using that in the sky as well, and just to try it out, and it's quite a nice soft yellow. I'm also using a little bit of permanent yellow by Holbein here. It's a really nice sunny yellow, but you could use cadmium yellow as well. So just painting all these yellows in wet, leaving a circle there for the sun. So really make sure that you don't sort of put any paint in that area. So I've mixed up some ultramarine and ultramarine with a touch of pink, and I'm painting this wet in wet. And the top part of the sky, try to avoid touching the yellow or you'll get green. So what I've done is I've added a little bit more of pink to my blue to make a violet, so there's no danger of it turning green, and leaving gaps for the clouds. And as you can see there, I'm painting the foreground wet in wet. I'm using my size 10 brush, and I am using the permanent yellow, but you can use cadmium yellow, and I've added a pinch of red to it to warm it up as well. So the colours get a warmer in the foreground there, which is quite nice. Before it dries, I'm going to sprinkle it with a little bit of table salt to create some light textures. As you can see now, once the painting is dry, there's some light textures in the foreground of the painting. And make sure it's absolutely dry before you apply some masking fluid, which I've applied with a synthetic brush. It's an old brush, so I'm not worried about it, but I have dipped it into hand soap to protect it from the masking fluid. And now I'm using an old scourer to print very gently onto the middle ground here, and this is to give the illusion of the rapeseed in the sort of middle distance, and I'm creating the texture with the scourer. And once it's dry, I can actually paint over the top, and that yellow rapeseed will be protected, or the image of it. And I'm spattering as well. Little dots there will also give the impression of the rapeseed. So I've already wet the field area with clean water, and now I'm painting a very sort of light yellow and yellow green on the horizon area using my size 6 brush wet in wet. I'm painting in now a sort of a mid-green, and that's a mixture of the yellow with a little bit of turquoise. I'm painting this wet in wet. I'm also using Quinacridone gold mixed with turquoise, so it's a slightly stronger, darker colour. I've also used ultramarine with the Quinacridone gold as well, just to mix it up. Painting the darkest darks in the foreground area, wet in wet, using my size 6 brush. I'm sprinkling some Brusho onto the wet surface. It's grey. I'll put a link in the description below that explains all about Brusho. The painting has dried, and I have removed the masking fluid, and I'm just painting a pale yellow onto the area where I peeled off the masking fluid, leaving some of the lighter yellow as well. I'm using my size 6 brush, painting the warmer yellow in the foreground. So you could use lemon yellow in the distance, and a kind of cadmium yellow in the foreground there, stippling, but leaving the light colour as well here and there. I'm using the little scourer now, and using some of the green paint and printing some textures as well. You can use a natural sponge, and you can also stipple with your brush. I'm now spattering with my size 6 brush some Quinacridone gold, especially in the middle area of the rapeseed field, just to create some warmth coming from that sun. I'm also spattering some of the permanent yellow here in the foreground, just to create some more texture and to create the illusion of the rapeseed. While that's drying, I'm just painting some pale trees on the horizon, wet on dry, using my size 6 brush with a mixture of ultramarine and a tiny touch of yellow. I'm using my size 4 brush now and just scrubbing on some burnt sienna mixed with a pinch of ultramarine to create some texture on these trees here, wet on dry. I am actually painting the tree trunks and branches with my size 2 round brush, wet on dry, using a mix of the ultramarine and burnt sienna. I'm actually still using my size 2 brush here with the same colour, the ultramarine and the burnt sienna, wet on dry, just to create a little bit of texture and detail, rinsing my brush and then softening underneath. I'm again using the scourer. You still can use an actual sponge if you like, or even stipple with a brush, but I'm just tapping very gently some sort of all the colours in my palette, actually, sort of scooping up all the greens, etc., and just printing them, especially in the foreground, wet on dry, to create lots of yummy textures. My painting has dried, and I thought this might be handy for some of you who find all these sort of thin branches, etc., tricky with a thin brush like a liner brush or like my size 2 brush. So I'm actually using a drawing pen. I'll put a link for it in the description below. But just to create all these little bits of detail, it seems so much easier to use. You feel like you're just drawing it on. It takes the pressure off a little bit. I had a few spots in my sky and I thought I'd use those as the body of the birds, and I'm just using the pen and drawing them on the dry surface, some birds here and there to create some life in the painting. So I should have actually masked out the sky again, but to finish off, I'm spattering some yellow paint wet on dry, mainly through the sort of centre of the field there, so it looks like the sun is glowing down. And I said at the beginning of this tutorial, it's all about the light. So here is the finished painting. I've removed the washi tape and I'm really pleased with the sun, especially in the sky, but also that light in the middle of the field coming down to the foreground. I've created lots of depth and detail with the trees and the foreground texture and the scale of everything getting smaller in the horizon. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you'd like to learn even more about watercolour, why not think about joining my Patreon membership? Details about the membership can be found in the description below, but you will get access to my exclusive tutorials and downloadable outline sketches, and you can cancel anytime. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Happy painting. Bye for now.